I liked chaos, and I liked hitting shit and getting hit.
I wouldn't want to be anything other than crazy. Like, I don't think you can be sane doing boxing, man. I think you got to be a little sick.
Become the first Egyptian world champion.
I'm ready for a world title shot next fight.
By knockout, Ahmed Elbiali.
That was a water buffalo.
3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, guys? Old School Matt here, back with another Water Buffalo Training Method podcast. Today, we are joined by our very, very prestigious guest, Ahmad Al-Balili. I definitely botched that name. Not very good at pronunciation, but Ahmad is a professional boxer in the light heavyweight division. He fights for PBC, if I'm not mistaken. And he's here joining us on our podcast tonight. It's probably one of the most, wanted guests that I've wanted to have on here for a while. We always wanted to talk to a professional fighter. So without further ado, here's Ahmad.
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So Ahmad, real quick, just want to jump into the podcast. We'll just go balls in and kind of talk about, you and what's going on with your life and who you are. So if you wouldn't mind explaining to the people out there that don't really follow boxing, all your accomplishments and what you're trying to do and who Ahmad is.
Dude, I'm just a human, bro. I'm a pro boxer. My record's, I think, 20-1, 17 knockouts. I was raised in Miami, Florida. I'm from Cairo, Egypt. We won a couple of Florida Golden Glove titles, all that. Tried competing for the national team in Egypt. Tried going to the Olympics in 2012, but Arab Revolution held that up. So I decided to turn pro. I've had some, ups and downs in my pro career, just like any profession. Decided to commit to this 100%. I'm waist in, so I love what I do. It's something that I look forward to waking up to every day. I go to sleep thinking about it. I'm always driven because of what I am and what I do. So it's good, bro. That's just who I am. I'm beyond blessed, and I'm ready for whatever's coming.
Ready to conquer the world. That's awesome. Yeah, Ahmad. So when you first started boxing, how old were you when you got into the sport, and what kind of got you into the sport?
I grew up playing ice hockey and American football, so I just liked impact. I liked chaos, and I liked hitting shit and getting hit. So, not getting hit, but I liked hitting things, hurting people, or it just, I don't know. I like that. So when I was in high school, I decided to pick up boxing. I would watch HBO after dark. They would have some pretty cool boxing fights after midnight. Watch that every night and just decided one day I was watching Mike Tyson. I'm like, I want to be like Mike Tyson. So
nice.
I'm here now, and yeah, it's God's greatest gift to me. So
for sure. So would you say that you were kind of like naturally talented when you first started getting into boxing? Because I feel like that's a lot of people, they have like, fears of getting into something that they're not sure about, and they're really passionate about something, but they're not sure if they're quite there in terms of talent. Would you mind kind of explaining like what was your level when you first started, and were you like kind of that naturally talented person, or did you kind of work for where you're at?
I think we all have a certain talent, and I think what'll give you that talent is what you said, not having a fear to get into what you want to get into. So I think when someone wants to do something and lets that fear go, whatever his talent is, it'll show up. I think I was just very committed to the boxing game from the start. I went in all the way. I dropped everything in my life for it. I would skip college just to like make it to sparring sessions and stay training. So the talent, I think I have the talent of consistency, and I have the talent of working hard. That's about it. Some people have power, some people have speed, some people have just pure boxing ability, but I think I'm just very driven and obsessed with what I do.
Yeah. That's the best talent I feel like anybody could have, honestly. And being driven and learning, as you get better and better, I'm sure, as a pro, you've progressively gotten better. And only with that, hard work and dedication, it like compounds off each other. When you first start and you're working really hard versus now that you've had your 21 fights in, I'm sure like the effect of the hard work and dedication has definitely compounded to the point to where it's like, progressively getting better and better each time. That's something you pointed something out, and I didn't even put two and two together, but you went to like a pretty good school, which is FIU, and you studied something that was pretty, I wouldn't say it's like super difficult, but it's definitely not easy. Sports science, right? At FIU. How was doing that and like balancing boxing?
There were times where it was hard because I was also working a job on the side.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go back to it. When you want to do something, you're going to find a way to do it. When you want to do something, when you want to grow, when you want to eat, when you want to sleep, you're going to find a way to get what you want. So I was just committed to getting what I wanted because I knew I can eventually excel in what I want. And I would always look at it in the bigger picture. I come from Egypt. I wanted to represent my country in a very different way. I wanted to, not to sound narcissistic, but I wanted to be extraordinary. I wanted to work for what I wanted. I wanted to be on an elite level on this planet. So I think that's what is getting me to where I want to get, because I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. So that's my purpose, and that's what I use every day to stay focused on the task at hand and to keep chasing what I'm trying to do.
Got you. Yeah. So like, I mean, I was never an athlete in college, but I definitely understand like the stress that comes with, having to balance a lot of things in college, especially. Did professors ever like give you like a break or no?
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, I had really cool professors, bro. Once they actually found out, you tell certain people or certain professors like, oh, I'm a pro boxer. They're like, okay, like you probably just go hit the bag at LA Fitness or something.
Yeah.
But no, once they would go online, they search me up and they'd be like, oh shit, like you're legit, like you're a real pro boxer. I'm like, yeah, like can you guys help me out? I won't be in town for the week. And bro, they were awesome people. They came to my fights. They showed support. They showed love. I had one professor. She gave me an A to run a full marathon. She's like, dude, if you run this full marathon, you don't have to show up to class anymore.
That's awesome. What class was that for?
It was like, I can't remember. I think it was a physical education for youth development class or some shit like that. It wasn't a very necessary class, but still,
Yeah, no, I wish teachers were like that at University of Florida.
No, dude, I mean,
100%. Yeah, that's unfortunately the college atmosphere is like, they don't care if you have, they'd rather, if some kid goes and sends an email saying like, hey, I'm having a really hard time in life, and they kind of BS their way and, say some things in the email, they can usually get an extension. But if a kid's like, hey, I'm working 40 hours a week, on top of this, I have an internship on top, and I'll run they don't really care. But, I guess, that's good that you had teachers that, they kind of rewarded your hard work. That's super awesome, dude. You still talk to them nowadays, or?
Yeah, man, they message me. She messages me. A couple guys I'm still friends with, bro. They're awesome people. Yeah,
that's awesome.
They're very cool.
I'm sure it feels really good to have like a good support system as well. Like obviously, I run a small business, trying to grow, and that's nowhere near the kind of dedication that it takes to be a professional athlete, especially a professional boxer. So to have, that kind of support, even from people that are like complete strangers is I'm sure like super humbling and super great.
Am I allowed to ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
What small business do you run?
So it's the Water Buffalo training method. The thing I was telling you about, the fitness program. We do like apparel. We're getting into supplements. I don't want to say we do supplements because we just came out with our first pre-workout. But the main focus is apparel and our training program. We do a little bit of coaching here in Haven.
It's called Water Buffalo?
Water Buffalo training method, yeah. It started off like, so, sidetrack from this little podcast, so throw a little bit of me in there. It started off with me writing a couple ebooks, fitness ebooks that I gave out for free. I'm kind of into bodybuilding and fitness. I don't compete or anything, but like I like to, help people out and stuff. And I was super into it in high school. I actually had like a lot more of a following back in high school. And then I kind of like fell off of social media because I went to college and I wanted to have a good time, party and stuff like that. But after my freshman year, I kind of decided that I wanted to take something a little bit more serious, something that I enjoyed. I don't really enjoy accounting. I'm just doing it to finish my degree off and kind of get on with my life. But I decided to write a couple ebooks. They're like a couple 100 pages each. I gave them out for free to like a couple 100 people. People really liked the stuff, so I created my own training program, and I had to call it something, and I didn't want it to be called my Instagram name's Old School Matt, so I didn't want it to be that. So I came up with an entity that I was able to, have like as a community of people that are driven. Water buffalo being that, water buffaloes in nature usually congregate in like thousands or whatever. They have like big herds, so it's basically trying to have a community of like like-minded individuals that are, trying to move forward with a purpose. They're independent on their own, but they move better together, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. That's awesome, dude.
So,
yeah. Dude, that's a great method to have. That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
So we do a lot of different things. Like we did an at-home program for quarantine workouts, like at-home workouts during COVID-19. We're coming out with our second program. Each program is like basically a video library of like a bunch of exercises that I video record and I video commentate. So I'll break down like each, what we're doing today, each exercise based off of like some principles that we have in the training program. So it's really interactive. I have there's a couple, close to 200 people on the program. So it's pretty humbling to like know that people actually enjoy watching my stuff. But I don't want to say that it's a time commitment, like something like boxing, because I think there's a really, that's why I really enjoy boxing and bodybuilding, because I feel like those are two sports that the commitment to the sport is like extraordinary on top of any other sport, in my opinion, because boxing and MMA, especially combat sports, because not only are you putting in more work than all the athletes, I'm sure that you know that, like boxers and fighters, like when getting ready for a fight, when they're even training year round, that type of activity is probably the hardest, most rigorous, unless you're comparing it to like a triathlon athlete or like a marathon runner. And on top of that, you're putting your physical, health in danger as well, like getting hit, whatever, concussions and stuff like that. So like combining those two together, and then not even having like other sports like baseball and basketball have like people that are around them during the game. I'm not saying your coaches don't help you. Obviously they're part of your team, but that's only you. And that's what I really enjoy about boxing and MMA and bodybuilding too, is that it's like just the individual when it comes down to the performance of the actual event,
Yeah.
No, so, super awesome. And that's why, like I said, I enjoy the sport, and I love, talking to people, even if they're, amateurs, professionals, whatever it is. But let's flip the tables back and turn it back over to you, because you're the highlight of tonight. So let's, if you don't mind, can we talk a little bit about, your career and, how was it starting off as a pro? I know that like a lot of people, like you said, you tried to go to the Olympics and, that didn't work out. So what happened when you went pro?
Bro, going pro was a little difficult in the United States. So I'm not a U.S. citizen, and
okay.
So I didn't really have. It was a weird shit show that started off. I didn't have too many amateur fights starting off, and then there was something that opened up called the World Series of Boxing. So it allowed the top amateurs to compete in these semi-professional league, boxing league. So they would be amateurs. They take off their headgear and they'd have them fight just like professional bouts, but they can keep their amateur status. So there was a team that opened up called the Miami Gallos. They went halfway through the season needing a replacement for someone on their roster. Again, this was for the top amateurs in the United States. So I heard about them and I wanted to make the team, but I knew realistically this is a long shot. But I ended up getting a call for a tryout. So I made the team, beat up this amateur fighter that was on the team, really well known at the time in America. They gave me a fight to fight a guy named Jason Monroy from Colombia. He was a two-time Olympian. He had like 400 fights, and I went into that fight with 9 amateur fights. I rocked the kid, but I lost the fight. The next fight, they gave me a fight 2 weeks later to fight a guy named Robert Brandt. He ended up being a world champion a couple years ago. He lost to the Japanese dude he's a gold medal Japanese guy. I think you've seen him on ESPN. I ended up beating Robert in the World Series of Boxing, and that kind of started the momentum for me. So The coach at the time for that team was a former U.S. Olympian coach in '94. He coached Floyd Mayweather in '94 and '96. He coached Floyd Mayweather's Olympic team.
Nice.
And he kept insisting. He's like, since you're not American, you got to go make your national team in Egypt. He's like, you got to go do that, man. So I ended up that summer going to Egypt, making my national team, and hoping to get to the 2012 Olympics. But I don't know if you remember, there was an Arab Spring at the time. Bro, 2012, you were like,
I was like 13.
yeah, you didn't care about that stuff. So
Yeah, probably.
at the time there was like this Arab Revolution. So a lot of these Arab countries were
I do remember. Actually. I was watching a video. Yeah.
They were just all revolting. So it kind of held things up for me. So I had to come back to the United States. I told my trainer here, what should I do? Should I wait till the next Olympics, or should I turn pro? Everyone, insisted that I turn pro, because to wait for the next Olympics, that's another 4 years. I would have been, I think, 26 at the time. And then you could kind of kiss your pro career goodbye if you're going to turn pro at 27, 28. Getting a pro fight here was very difficult because I was unheard of. No one really knew who I was. They didn't really want to give me the opportunity because I'm not American. And Egypt doesn't really develop good boxers. You don't really hear of too many good Egyptians. So they had me matched up with a U.S. team Olympian for my pro debut, but I got blessed. I knocked him out in the first round, and that kind of just
put you on
took my career off. I was standing in the ring getting my hand raised, and my coach was telling me, like, yo, you got a guy out here who wants to pay you $50,000 to sign with him. I was like, well, that changed really quickly. Like I went from nobody to like somebody. I knew I was somebody, but according to the boxing world. So
respect, dude, respect. Did you happen to, so like what's the pipeline, I guess, or what's the timeline from like your first fight to starting to get like, because you are you still with PBC? Like, do you still fight with them, or kind of?
I am. I have a contract with them, but right now there's just so much. There's so much shit, dude. It's like you don't know what the best place to be is, because you're right. There's a lot of guys in my position. We're not fighting, but at the end of the day, these promoters are making money. Like, why are they? We're not fighting because shit's dry, but they're obviously not dry. Like, they're still running things. They're still making an income. So, I'm still with PBC, but I'm trying to figure out a way to fight or figure out a way to get out of PBC and look for someone that will get me some more consistent fights. Because
got you.
I want 40, 50 fights by the time I retire. So
nice. You obviously want to go for a world title, right?
That's the main objective. Become the first Egyptian world champion.
Yeah. What's the like? So like I'm not saying I'm like complete, ignorant when it comes to like boxing in terms of like moving up the ranks, but I honestly, to be honest, I am. Like, if you don't mind explaining to me, what's the timeline from like the first fight to now you're at 20 fights to getting a world title?
Do you want to know the truth, or do you want to know the facade version? Like, do you want to know like
the truth is you're gonna tell me you need to know people to fight, right? Sort of thing. Or
the truth is, bro, if you got a stack full of money, you can get ranked number 2 in the world in one day.
Yeah.
In one day, you can get ranked number 2 in the world on every freaking organization. So the truth of the matter is, like, it's not corrupt. It's boxing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. How do you say? What do they call when people like? What is that when people like buy fights or?
It's kind of like buying
when people fix fights.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a fixed fight in boxing. That is boxing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
I know what you're saying.
There's nothing wrong with it because it's been like it, bro. Muhammad Ali has gone through this. Rocky Marciano, Sugar Ray Robinson. You're talking about Jack Johnson. They all had to like experience boxing. It's just the business of boxing. So to get ranked, yeah, like I gotta know some people, talk to some people, and I went from being ranked number 7 in light heavyweight. I just checked the rankings yesterday, so now I'm out of light heavyweight, and then they got me number 5 in the cruiserweight division, which is a higher division.
Yeah.
And it just makes me like, I get it. It's just funny, dude. It's like I've never even fought cruiserweight in my life. So
do you plan on ever moving up, or you like the light heavyweight division?
I absolutely want to move up. I just want to win my belt first at light heavyweight.
Got you. Because you're like what? You're like 6'3", 6'4"?
No, dude, I'm like 6 feet.
Okay. Oh, I mean,
Yeah. I know they have me at 6'3", so I just go with it.
yeah. That's funny. So who I know this is like a lot of like I guess like imaginary
bro,
stuff.
you can go deep fucking in. I don't give a fuck. You
Okay,
can ask me
cool.
whatever.
Who would be your ideal? Because I'm trying to think. I know Better Biev has a belt. I know what's the other guy's
I
name?
would say right away.
Caleb Plant has a belt.
No, Caleb has a belt, but Caleb's a super middleweight.
Is he a super middleweight? I thought he was a light heavyweight.
No,
Okay.
he's a super. He fought light heavy in the amateurs, and he's not a. Bro, the people on that video were saying I was what fifth. Like they were saying I was a cruiserweight. I was a heavyweight compared to him.
Yeah.
Realistically, bro, I was maximum 10 pounds heavier than him, and that's not that much in our weight class.
So, Better Biev has.
I would say I would go with Better Biev because, bro, I'm at a point where it's like you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a scary motherfucker though.
Yeah, he's scary, but he's human, man.
Yeah, of course.
And like we work hard for this, so it's like
exactly.
I got to take his punch for sure, but he has to also take my punch.
That's what I was gonna say. I was watching a couple of your fights too after like we started talking. I watched the one. I did watch the one you lost against the Jean Pascal guy.
Yeah.
I was watching another one with Vera. Something I think was your most recent.
Okay,
one.
yeah.
You have a really good right hand. That's like what you're known for, or is that's what
I think it looks like I am, but I think my biggest weapon is my left hook. So
okay.
Yeah. I just finish him with the right hand, but it's the left hook.
Because Better Biev has that good right hand too, right?
Yeah, Better Biev has a lot of good. He has a good everything. But, bro, I know Russians that have told me things about his amateur background. He's a great fighter. He's a very good person outside of boxing.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
But it's the opportunity to take, man. Like you gotta want to beat the best. Like, and I only want to fight the best at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially if it's a guy that's going to stand in front of me and stuff. It kind of fits my style. It's like,
yeah, definitely.
Well, not only is he the best, but he's the best that fits me.
So you're willing to take that fight at any time?
Absolutely. 100%.
That's awesome, dude. Like, not a lot of people would say that. I wanted to ask you. Well, there's two other people I wanted to ask you. I think
I'd say the toughest fight out of those champions is probably Dimitri Bivol, because he's like a little bigger version of Caleb, and he throws. Let's say Caleb's a very good fighter, but he's always in a very defensive position throwing punches, whereas Bivol is very defensive, but he's always in the offensive position throwing punches. Mm-hmm. So he's defensive, but when he comes in to throw, he's on his toes. He's turning hard. So he's very back and forth, but he's also, I'm not going to say beatable. You got to beat them to beat them, but he's also human, bro. Like, you go to his body a little bit, he'll slow down.
You know who I saw fight the other day? I don't know who he fought, but Anthony Yarde.
Anthony Yarde's, he's good. I saw him take some punches. I think Anthony Yarde's, he's good. He's also inexperienced, but go ahead, go for it.
I was gonna say he, if I'm not mistaken, his style is more like, not like a Mike Tyson style, but he kind of comes at you a lot, right? He's kind of like wild, sort of like, kind of aggressive fighter, in terms of like, he tries
to imitate a little bit of Floyd Mayweather with the shoulder roll, and then comes at you with the Tyson style, and then he's like a little bit of everything. I feel, he runs his own. He runs his own shit in England, so.
Got you.
I'd love to fight him too.
I feel like that would be a cool fight, because you guys are both like kind of coming. Like he fought Kovalev and almost beat him in that, I think it was like the 8th or 9th round or something like that last summer. And I think you're someone who's up and coming too. Have you ever considered that fight? Or
it is, but boxing's very, I guess, what's another word for corrupt? Political. Yeah. So political and geographically segregated. Yeah. So he's from England. They're gonna try to keep him European based.
Gotcha.
Try to keep him fighting European guys, English guys for now.
Makes sense. I didn't know
He
he was
he fought a European guy last fight, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know he was. Yeah, I didn't know he was European.
Yeah. So he's from England, and they're gonna just kind of keep him over there. Once he crosses the pond and fights here once committedly on a well-known show, yeah, the options are gonna open up. Then they'll start looking for guys living in America to shoot with this fool.
Got you. Yeah, dude, I love this. I love your style because, like, I think you have a really good personality, but not only because, like, you can talk shit and say, I'm going to beat this guy, I could beat this guy, but because, like we were talking about before we got on the podcast, like, even though you don't consider yourself, like, an immigrant, like, because you moved here when you were 5, I know you consider yourself an immigrant, but you say you didn't kind of, like, move. I think that, like, that shows a lot of character to begin with because you're Middle Eastern, obviously, and like during that time, like there was a lot of like hatred towards people because like 9/11 and shit.
Yeah, bro. I'm glad you. Yeah, that's funny you say that.
Yeah,
not too many people acknowledge that.
Yeah, and it's kind of. I mean, it's like it obviously was in our past, but you know, that puts a lot of like psychological pressure on a person, especially as like a kid. You know, I had friends of mine who weren't even Middle Eastern that were getting made fun of when they were younger and stuff like that. So definitely respect for that. And another thing too, dude, like. I don't think a lot of these boxers have been to, college or university. So they don't know the struggle that comes with, like taking classes and fucking discussion post bullshit and all this exams and stuff like
there comes a discipline with going to college. There's definitely a discipline. And I think college teaches you a lot of things, but it also teaches you how to pass in life. And
exactly.
Literally, and that's an important thing in boxing too. You gotta get through tough times, and that's what college teaches you. I mean, and realistically, it teaches you some knowledgeable things. You're around knowledgeable people. You'll pick up things from your friends' parents, from your parents, since they wanted you to go to college. And
anyways, slight little delay in that podcast, but we're back and better than ever. We'll kind of move on. I mean, and if you have any last remarks talking about just the life of. You were talking about how college kind of built your character, and we're kind of circling back on like your complete boxing package. Anything you want to tell anyone out there, maybe some amateur fighters that, are kind of going through the same struggles, maybe they're not going through college, but they're kind of going through like a busy time in their life where they have to work like you were working as well. Any advice to them, any tips to them that they can kind of use to hopefully, better themselves and help push through the, the harder times.
If they really want to do this, no, it's all good. If they really want to do this, what the fuck is that? If they really want to do this, they gotta really want to do this, man. Like, when you're gonna commit to something, commit all the way. And I can, even though I haven't gotten to where I want, but I can promise you that you'll get to where you want.
For sure.
Because just commit and believe and imagine and work for it and stay happy and get dressed on days that you aren't happy, cry, be upset, get hurt, but go just stay on that shit, man. Just stay on it, and it always works out.
Yeah.
There's always a bigger purpose, so it always works out.
I feel that 100%. Like, you probably have had times where you not doing well or injuries and shit like that's going on, and then the next day you get a call about maybe a potential big fight or something that's good for your sponsorship or something like that. Same thing happens with me on a smaller scale, obviously, but some days I'll be like, damn, like, we're not doing so well. Where's money coming from? Do I have to work extra hours on my other job to help sustain, the business, and I want to grow and all this. And then you get like, a couple customers, and then it usually always helps out, and it, kind of compounds and builds off of each other. But I also wanted to talk about too a little bit, kind of get your input on like, because we were early in the podcast, we were talking about like boxing and its state, I guess the politicalness of boxing. Do you ever see it changing at all, or do you think that it's always going to kind of stay the way it is?
Dude, I don't know. It's tough for boxing. MMA, it's possible. It's a smaller sport, but boxing is just too international. You got promoters in Japan that are top promoters. You got promoters in Europe, England, America, Mexico, like it's just Philippines, Thailand. It's just so broad. Then you got 4 belt organizations that are recognized, maybe 10 that aren't recognized. So it's just you'd have to start a union, and to get all that started, these big guys will never let it happen. It's something that I would wish that could happen, but it's very, very, very difficult.
I'll ask you two questions. Do you think that social media being out there, because you can kind of, from what I've seen, a lot of people call out these promoters on social media, and they like back in the day, you couldn't really do that. You know what I mean? Like their stories didn't. I mean, they got released and stuff, but like I feel like nowadays with social media, like more information shared quickly, and like people can kind of see through like obviously fans, even like casual fans like myself, I can see through like the bullshit calls sometimes. I can see through like, you know, when there's contract issues or this person want to fight this guy or whatever. Like we can kind of see through it now. I feel like back in the day, maybe it wasn't as blatantly obvious. Now, especially because we have like social media and people speak out. So that's one question I was going to ask you. Do you think social media might help fix it, or do you think it, you know, it won't have any effect?
I think in maybe in the near future, I would say less than 10 years, it'll definitely have more of an impact. Because a lot of these top guys are going to have to depend on social media as well. As for the moment, these guys that are running the show, they're older guys, so they give like zero fucks, dude. They don't care about this shit. Sooner or later, they're going to have to care, because the voice being heard on social media is very profound. People listen to people here. But as for the moment, it's year by year. It's gonna take a little bit, and it could happen next year, but it's not happening yet.
Yeah, I got you. This is the next question I was gonna ask you. Do you think promoters are even like, I know you're with Al Heyman, right?
I started off my career with Al Heyman. Now I'm under the Al Heyman branch, which is another guy named Tom Brown. So it's just one of the promoters that Al uses to promote PBC, because Al doesn't use his own name to promote PBC.
Do you think that with the like time back into social media now, with like, you know, all these, I guess, self promoters or people promoting through social media, and like that kind of being the shift of where our world's going, do you think that like promoters one day will kind of be obsolete? Like they're kind of pointless?
That's very, very, it's very likely, because a lot of guys are making names for themselves outside of promoting, because promoters don't really promote anymore. I'd say, I don't want to talk good about someone that I'm not even with, but I'd say Bob Arum does a good job of promoting. Top Rank does a good job of promoting. They promote more. I don't think I think Top Rank keeps the old style of promoting alive. They promote certain fighters. They promote fighters that are about to have a fight. Whereas, I don't want to talk bad about PBC, but PBC doesn't really promote all their fighters. PBC doesn't even promote some of the guys that are going to have a main event. When I had a main event with John Pascal, I was barely promoted for this main event. Gotcha. I think I've realized that I have to promote myself for them to want to promote me. I think anybody has to promote themselves first. So there's a big chance that we won't need promoters. But right now, dude, they hold the game, like they hold their game. I don't know how to describe it. They're like the movie industry. There's no young buck that's gonna come across and go buy Fox or Warner Brothers for, I don't know if it makes sense what I'm even saying, but you know what I mean? They're holding the game. Like they're not gonna let kids promote themselves yet.
I'll like go out on a limb, even though I'm not like in the boxing industry. I think that,
let me just say this, like promoters promote a fight. Their budget is, let's say $20 million to promote a fight. They set up the event, TV, stands, food, all that. Now they pay fighters. They're like, main event, you get paid 2.5. Co-main gets 1 million, $500,000 for the co-main. But at the end of the day, most these guys don't really know how much they're making from this whole scheme. Also, nowadays, promoters don't really invest in the promotion. They have investors that promote the fights and that invest in promoting the fight and invest in everything. And then promoters make a cut. They're just middlemen.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I feel like social media and like people being able to do this shit kind of like on their own, like you don't even really need a promoter. Maybe you need like an event manager that just like manages the event. But I feel like people like, I don't want to call out anyone because I know you're trying to make it in the boxing scene or whatever.
No, dude, it's all good. Some guys have a name. Some guys have worked to where they are. Some guys have found a way to develop a name in boxing and they've never boxed a day in their life. And that's it's not about fair or not fair, but life ain't fair. So that's life and that's fair. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
No. I'm more speaking about like what you were saying. Like, I feel like some promoters out there might be a little bit more on the greedy side and they take advantage of a lot of like the smaller fighters. Maybe like someone maybe not someone like yourself to where you're like, I would say, like, would you say you're like a middle tier, upper tier fighter? Like you're on your way to the climb, or where would you say you're at?
I'd say I'm a world champion without a belt to hold his pants up. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it. But like you were saying, like, I feel like, you know, you don't see where your money is going. It's like you said, unnecessary middleman. And that's not really cool but like society has always been like that. But I feel like if society starts to use social media to its benefit, to like the good side of social media, I feel like is that things are readily available and they're rapid and you can't hide shit anymore. Like everything gets told. You can see everything. Like it's not like before where you can kind of push things to the side. Like there's always a camera somewhere. Someone's always going to send someone the contract or someone's always going to send someone a voicemail. And now with social media, it's like within seconds you have it and thousands, millions of people see it. I feel like it might be a bold prediction, but over the next 10 or 15 years, if it continues, it'll be able to start calling out more and more bullshit. Because like I don't know if like the corruptness in boxing also has to do with the judges. I'm sure it does, has some way tied into promoters as well. Like I've seen some fights in the past last year especially, that was like it was embarrassing. Like
But, like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, it sucks. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it is an industry. They make money off of this stuff. So sometimes the power holders might be too powerful, but I think within the next 10 or 15 years, things will start to change, especially in terms of better for the people.
Yeah. You just don't know if another guy like Dana White will buy it all up or run it all down. Like, you know, boxing's just different. It's different, bro. It's different.
I think the UFC does a decent job from what I've heard.
I've heard that too, but then I also got to say, like, they pay John Jones $500,000, you know, and it's like John Jones is that in MMA, he's a household name, you know, like if you know the UFC, everyone knows who John Jones is, but he's still like, you know, his net worth is what, 10 mil at most, 5 mil. So in boxing, if John Jones was a pro boxer, John Jones would be a very rich man. He'd be a really, really rich man. So
John Jones, I would say, is probably more popular in terms of MMA than like a Tyson Fury would be in boxing. He's
he's as popular.
And Tyson Fury definitely has a lot more money than him.
Yeah, Tyson Fury's net worth is about $80 million. You know, so it's like that's a big difference between. You know, and they both put their lives on the line. I'd say boxing is a little riskier. Yeah,
I've heard that too.
Just because you get punched a lot more, but whereas MMA is a little more in the moment dangerous. You can definitely have your face cracked. You can have a big gash across your head for the rest of your life, things like that. But boxing is where you can become a vegetable for the rest of your life, or live in a coma, or just straight up die.
I know the reason, but do you mind explaining to people watching this the reason why?
Think about it like this: like MMA, you can, gloves are smaller, so once you get hit, you're out. You're out. They stop the fight. Whereas in boxing gloves are not used to protect the other guy's head. They're used to protect your hands, so you're able to hit them consistently with jabs and right hands. And some guys know how to take punches. So you land 500 punches on a guy. Like it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I've seen some I don't know if there's data out there, but I've seen some people talk about the amount of concussions in boxing versus MMA is like unreal. How many more people have concussions and brain trauma in boxing than MMA? Because like you said, you can sleep someone really quick with like a 4-ounce glove or whatever they use. But when you're throwing, like you said, hundreds of jabs at someone's head over time, that constant motion back, thrown back is probably not the best for you.
But learn how to move your head.
Exactly. I really appreciate your time, bro. I want to, I don't want to make this podcast too long, but before we head out, I want to ask you just a couple of quick questions just about boxing in general. You're like a boxing fan as well, right? As a fighter. Sure. So who are your like top 3 fighters you like enjoy watching right now? And like why?
Now, right now in our time our time and era. I'd say Gervonta Davis because he hits hard and he's exciting to watch. Usyk. I do like Teofimo Lopez. Lomachenko.
Yeah.
Common guys. Canelo. I love Canelo.
That was real quick, before we end to this podcast, I was going to ask, because he's my favorite fighter. I was going to ask you, if he was fighting you in light heavyweight, how would you go against him? And do you think you'd beat him, honestly?
I would I would love to fight Canelo. How would I go against Canelo? I would just try to control the center of the ring. That's all you could really do. He's a guy that knows how to fight going backwards, and he's a guy that knows how to fight going forwards. And I think the best thing you can do with a guy like Canelo is, especially if I have the size advantage, the power advantage, he's going to have the boxing IQ. He's going to have the experience. So just control the center of the ring, keep it as basic as possible. Don't try to throw too many mistakes. So you can't afford it with a guy like him, and just have fun, bro. Enjoy the moment. It's like, you know what? You beat this guy, you're on top of the world.
If you were to fight Canelo, your life would definitely change.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You never know, where your career goes. I think he's probably going to stay at super middleweight. I don't think he's going to go down back to middleweight. I don't think he's going to go up to light heavy anymore, but you never know.
I think with Canelo, he has the heart and courage to, if the money's there, he'll take a fight.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
The money's there.
If the money's there, for sure.
But yeah,
Canelo's a very good fighter, man. I learn a lot from watching him. He has great balance, great defense. He has good counters. He's very smart. He's very comfortable. He looks like he's just on the patio smoking, chilling, bro. Like he's just in his zone whenever he fights. So he's an awesome guy to watch and learn from. If any young guys are watching, I'd say that's the best guy you could watch right now to learn how to become a good professional boxer. He's hands up, good defense.
I follow like a lot of what he does. I don't emulate his style too much, just because like I like to pick and choose off different people. But I enjoy watching him fight. I think he's a fucking incredible fighter. He's got I can't really pick a weak point off of him, honestly. Maybe he's like kind of flat-footed in some aspects, but he makes up for it in like his head movement and the way he moves around the ring. He knows how to cut off the ring. So I don't think like I honestly don't. Yeah.
I don't think you're absolutely right. I don't think you could go into that fight depending on his weakness. You just have to go into a fight like that just knowing like I gotta win.
Would you brawl with him, or would you because you're taller than him, so would you use like that, tall short fighter type of like?
I would let him take the pace. I'd let him in a weird way. I don't know if you notice he doesn't have a very fast pace. He's
kind of like hunting you down, sort of like slow. He controls the fight. He always controls the fight.
He controls the pace of the fight. So if you kind of take that control and use it to your advantage, because for a big guy, that's a pretty decent pace for me. That's like, getting tired it won't be common in that pace because it's a very slow, controlled pace. So if someone in a heavier weight class knows how to control that pace with him and goes back and forth, Canelo just fights for very small amounts of time. Mm-hmm. If you pay attention, like he knows how to win rounds by throwing punches in 15 seconds, and then he's done and he wins a round, and then
that's what I was gonna say. If you fight him like that, the only problem I feel like that would be an issue is that he'll slowly creep up on you, and before you know it, the fight's over and he already has 12 rounds in the bag. So. Yes.
So you gotta put a little pressure. You gotta let him come to you. You can't just. You got to keep him guessing, because once he's comfortable and once he knows and once he figures you out, it's
over.
That's it, bro. It's over. It's all she wrote. Like even if he doesn't knock you out, it's gonna be a cakewalk for him.
Got you. Anyways, dude, I really appreciate having you on. It was a really good conversation. I hope you got some out of it too. Where can people find you on social media? I know you're big on Instagram. Do you have anything else going on, or is that Instagram about it?
I just started a YouTube page. That's why Caleb got mad at me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's where I posted that first video. dude, if you guys just search Egyptian boxer, I'll come up. So, my name's Ahmed Elbiali. I appreciate the support, brother. Thank you for having me, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, well, we appreciate for you guys watching, and any last words for anyone watching, just like quick little motivational something to give them a little goodbye. What's your favorite quote? Do you have a favorite quote?
The one that comes to my mind right now is the only limits that you set for yourself are, that's it. Don't set any limits for yourself. Stay limitless. Stay growing. Stay positive. And
sure.
Bro, we only live once, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the quote, or I like the thing you said earlier. You're a champion, but you just don't have the belts yet. That's how people should live life.
Absolutely. I would say once everybody, whether you're trying to be a boxer or a doctor or a lawyer or a broadcaster or whatever you want to be, once you fully engulf yourself in what you are doing, you eat how you should eat to feel the way you want to feel. You live for me, I got to live like a champion, eat like a champion, sleep like a champion, talk to people like a champion, watch boxing like a champion, walk into a gym then you'll become a champion. That's when I truly feel like you've prepped your body, you've prepped every cell in your body to become a champion. It is ready to grasp the moment when it comes. Because whether you call it God or the universe, the moment always comes for those that are working for that moment. So prep yourself for the moment, because the moment will always come.
Yeah, and be ready, like you're saying, be ready for that moment, because it might not come today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, but it's going to come eventually, or you'll just die. So either way.
Yeah, that's good too, bro. He didn't really,
But hey, it was a pleasure having you on, man. Hopefully we'll have a conversation soon. If anything comes up and you need us for any reason, just, reach out, and I'm sure people will be watching this. I have a lot of people that like boxing, and hopefully they spread some love your way. And best of luck in all the training and stuff like that you're going for the next couple weeks or whatever till your next fight.
Thank you, brother. Pleasure's all mine, man. Thank you.
Anyways, guys, we appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for tuning in. Take care and peace.